So NBA prospects and potential recruits at the high school level are just that, possible future NBA players that are very young and still in high school. But the abilities some of these players show out there on the court and the physical features that some of them have can make it really easy to forget that. Especially with the guy I'm talking about today in Jahzare Jackson, who is a pretty well-known 16-year-old 7-footer that weighs around 300 pounds. I mean, he already has the physical frame of a grown man, but he is only a high schooler in his sophomore year. And although his great physical features have made guys like LeBron James and Zion Williamson somehow appear small, ESPN is not fazed, and even after their updated top 25 list for the class of 2023 that came out earlier this month, Jahzare Jackson is still unranked. However, do not allow this to make you think he's no good, because for one, I mean, let's be honest, sure, ESPN's rankings are a fun topic to talk about, but really they do not mean nearly as much as we often make it seem. And then secondly, because the room for growth in Jahzare's game is pretty scary, just as you should expect for someone his size, but also his current game is nice as well. And in this video, we're gonna look at why he's unranked, his current playstyle, and then skills he could pick up to determine how good he could really be, and it's pretty scary, so just stay tuned. But before I go any further, what's good YouTube? Plug Speaks back with a vid. If you are new, subscribe. If Jahzare could probably dunk on you, which applies to most of us, then like this video up and turn on notice. I upload 3 to 4 times a week, and right now we are grinding the 2K subs and beyond, so I'd for sure appreciate it, especially if we could hit it before the new year. But back to the vid though. So Jahzare Jackson plays for IMG Academy, a well-known program for sports and especially basketball at the high school level, and he starts for their B team, which some people may look down on, but I really don't understand that, because I don't know, I guess people don't realize that even IMG's B team is still technically varsity since they play other varsity teams. They just do not travel as far to play games, and they do not play as much competition, obviously, but they definitely still face good schools. Don't let a crazy narrative get to your head. For example, they did play Lake Norman Christian, led by Mikey and Trey Green, not too long ago. But anyway, Jahzare playing for IMG's B team is not the issue really. I mean, you may be correct to think that it's hurting his rank status, but I look at it as further proof of how great IMG really is. Plus, he only just finished the first semester of his sophomore year. It's not like he's a junior or even senior still on the B team. That'd be very, very tough, and I would have no excuses. However, one thing is pretty undeniable, and that is that Jahzare's presence on their B team says something about what his coaches think of his abilities right now, along with the improvement he could really use and needs. And I say this because when you are watching Jahzare play, you can see that he is effective in a lot of the ways that one would expect him to be just off his stature. I mean, just to name a few positives. Offensively, he takes full advantage of his huge build that he's been blessed with, as he is very physical on the court. His points usually come from playing some good bully ball down low, a whole lot of layups, some dunks, strong drives to the basket every now and then, solid footwork, and even some mid-range shots, although that ability is a little less reliable. And you could say that probably one of the more impressive things about him, besides just being big, is his awareness in terms of being aware of the defensive attention that he commands. I say this because surely he is able to take on 2 defenders at this level of basketball since he's so big, but even still, he does good to recognize one of the most basic rules you learn when playing team basketball, which is that if you're being doubled, then someone is open, and he makes the correct read to pass the ball when the opportunity presents itself. But going on to some positives defensively. Now, for the most part, he's not one of those players that could play defense if they wanted to, but just choose not to, because he puts his huge build to pretty good use and protects the paint, gets some blocks, alters shots, and makes opposing players think twice about driving in when he is in the painted area. However, defensively, he can be pretty inconsistent, and you will not really see him show that extra effort of pursuing a player that's blown past him and trying to get that chase down block. But overall, his presence is definitely noticed defensively, so you could even say that Jahzare is a two-way player. But even with all these nice traits of his that I just named off, there is still room for a decent amount of improvement. And as I name off the areas he lacks in, it will not be too hard to realize why ESPN recruit analysts feel bold enough to leave him off their rankings, even though he is a good player with a solid social media presence. And you may say social media does not mean anything, but really that's not true, because it means exposure, so they are aware of Jahzare's existence. So yeah, When it comes to Jahzare's flaws, the unfortunate reality is that Jahzare Jackson's physical stature is really what carries his game, which is what some of you may expect, but honestly, I'd say it carries his game too much because there is not much skill involved. And you may say, oh, some guys are in the NBA right now and they depend nearly completely on their physical ability, except that's not even true because even Shaquille O'Neal, a whole NBA legend that everyone assumes was just a big body, had a good amount of skill with his footwork and defensive strategies. But just being honest, when it comes to Jahzare, he does not have much of a post game. He doesn't have much in his bag when it comes to playing with his back to the basket, although he does sometimes use an impressive spin move into a layup, which is nice, but ultimately bully ball is what gets him the majority of his points. And I know that there are some that would say, what does it matter? The kid is 7 foot 300 pounds. If it's not broke, do not fix it. But the thing is, clearly this method of bully ball is not as effective as it could be, because otherwise the unranked part of this video's title would not even be true. Therefore, he's going to have to add more ways to be effective into his bag. And I know, at this point in the video, it may seem like I'm contradicting my claim in the title where I say that you should not sleep on this man, since I literally just named off a whole lot of areas he's lacking in. However, if anything, him having all these possible improvements he can make and having such a grown man frame and having 2 more years left in the high school to improve, there is absolutely no reason to think he cannot astronomically improve and even be seen as the best in his class by the time he is a senior if he adds to his game in certain ways that I'm about to go over, and that's no exaggeration. And first, there's the obvious need for him to lose some type of weight, and I know weight is partially what makes him so dominant, so I'm not saying he should cut off anything crazy like 100 pounds, but rather 15 to 20 just to help with mobility. But yeah, some specific areas that could help him become dangerous once improved on includes primarily a better post-game ability so he can rely less on his mass against defenders, and also an improvement with his overall basketball IQ when it comes to reading the defense, because man, that would work wonders. And that's not to claim that right now he's awful at this, because I did praise how he at least does the bare minimum of finding his teammates when the defense gives him too much attention. Plus, when it comes to bigs, you should not expect them to have the mind of Chris Paul. However, with how young Jahzare is, there's really no excuse. He has a whole lot of time to develop a high basketball IQ that would just make him an insane player. And when I say developing a high basketball IQ as a big man, I'm talking about Jahzare picking up some of the things that all-star NBA big men like Nikola Jokic do. And before I get any crazy reactions to that, no, I'm not at all saying that Nikola Jokic is his player comparison. I know that a lot of people love to compare him to Shaq, but like I sort of mentioned earlier, Shaq made bully ball seem way easier than it actually is. There's more to it than just being big. Guys gotta be strong and have skill as well. But what I'm saying by bringing up Nikola Jokic is that Jahzare picking up some of his tendencies would make him far more dangerous as a player. Come on now. Simple things like taking time to survey the defense when in the half court and faking a shot while in the post-up position just to find a teammate cutting to the basket is a little difference that could have major effects. Also, things like developing a reliable floater ability rather than needing to gain a favorable position in the paint every single time because you're limited to dunking or big bodying your way into a layup just to score the ball. I mean, these things would make Jahzare a special force. Just think about it. Those skills I just brought up, posting up with the intention of finding a teammate and having a floater in his bag of tricks, are just 2 things that Jokic tends to do really well. And if Jahzare were to add this to his game, there was really no telling how great he could really be. Anyway, I'm fixing to wrap this video up, but before I do want to mention that Jahzare could very well become ranked and dominate without adding a crazy amount of things into his game. I mean, who knows, honestly. Maybe losing weight and adding muscle is all he needs to become Shaq 2.0, but at this moment, it seems like ESPN's analysts have him unranked because they just do not see much in him besides a big dude that dominates because he's big. Also, if you look at the top 25 list for his class, 9 out of 25 of the guys on there are either power forwards or centers, so although the majority are smaller players and guards, it's not like they just completely discriminate from showing love to the big men in these rankings. But yeah, really wrapping this up now, let me know what you think down below, what areas you believe Josh should improve in, or if you agree he has all the potential in the world to become the best in his class. I don't know, but let me know down below. I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to like this sub if new, all of that. More content on the way, and I'm out.